Welcome to episode 15 of SoFly. It's episode 15.
Is it?
It is, because this is going to go out December 1st. If people are listening to this, it's December. And it comes after 14, which is November, which is the episode we did last time. So, yeah, this is episode 15.
Well, that's my lucky number.
15?
No.
Oh. Well, it may as well be this time, I guess.
So.
My name is Mitch, and, of course, I'm joined here again by Gab.
Hi, everyone.
Yilma.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest on the show today. He's here to talk about saltwater fly fishing and all the fly fishing that he's done, which is certainly probably a lot more than all three of us, especially on the salts, something we're really keen about learning about. Greg, how's it going?
It's awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I love talking about fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and hockey, as you know.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to talk about fishing today, that's for sure. But let's just jump into first how you started fly fishing and a little bit about yourself and your background.
Let me talk about the fly fishing. Let me talk about fishing first.
Yeah.
I fished all my life. I go to Lake Ontario in the summertime. I'd pack, some sandwiches in a bag, and I'd look for worms at night on my neighbor's lawns. And I go down and I'd walk on the beach and go out on those piers that you weren't supposed to.
Yep.
So I catch little fish like perch and the odd pike and give them to my neighbors. They didn't mind that green glow back in the day. So anyhow, I do love fishing, and I've had the pleasure of fishing at my cottage in Georgian Bay. I've had a little place in the Cayman Islands for a long, long time, and so I would just spin fish there, walking the beach.
Yeah.
And then you guys will laugh. In the early 90s, I started fly fishing. And the first year was awful. Like, that's what we were talking about a little bit with just that if you think you're reasonably athletic and you think you can cast, but when you start with a fly line, it's a whole different thing. So the first year I was awful, but I did catch a 22-pound salmon on a dry fly on the Moisey River in Quebec.
Whoa.
It's 12 miles north of Sept-Îles.
Oh, yeah, it's on the North Shore.
Yeah, and you go in by helicopter, and it's like awesome. But it's you don't have to cast; you just have to be able to drop the line.
Yeah.
So, but my friends were seasoned, and I was a little embarrassed. So, after year 2, I could cast. So I'd go to the schoolyard.
Yeah, sounds like me. Sounds like me and these guys.
I'd take 5 rods, lay them out, and before I go down to other places that I would go, excuse me, I would practice. And if you're going on a trip that's reasonably expensive and you only get to do it once a year, you got to be ready. So I would go and crank it out. So that's really when I started. That's where I started. And then I did the Restigouche, the Miramichi, back to the Moisey, all prime time. I had good friends with great water.
Yeah.
But I mentioned the Cayman Islands, and this will lead us into salt water. What always struck me was I used to love smallmouth bass. How could you not?
Oh, my God.
Right?
Everybody does,
So
right?
Smallmouth bass.
Love
bang,
smallmouth.
bang.
Yeah.
So, and in my younger day, I remember one day in Algonquin Park, I caught one 5'10" and another one 5'11". My buddies were on the shore. I saw a rock. I swam out to it. I swam out holding my rod.
Yeah.
Climbed up on the rock. And so I used to love the fight of a smallmouth, which everyone says pound for pound is, very, very strong fish. And it is. But then I got to Cayman. And I got a 5-pound jack. That's like a 20 pounds smallmouth bass.
Because it just like runs, eh?
They're just more vigorous. The species are more vigorous. I think they've got more people, more creatures trying to eat them.
Yeah.
And they are powerful. Like just fresh to salt to me is like a smallmouth bass on steroids.
Yeah.
Not that I know what that's like, but you get the you get the idea. Yeah. So I knew then, and I'd started with the fly fishing on the Atlantic salmon. And so one of my friends had a place in Ocean Reef, which is in Key Largo. I don't think he has it today. Well, he does, but it spread out a little more.
Yeah.
With that hurricane smoke.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which is awful.
Yeah.
But that water, I had a friend with Fisheries Canada out of British Columbia. His name was Tom Bird. Terrific guy. Died way too young, but he and I used to fish at Langara, which is in the Queen Charlotte Islands, for Chinook, coho, and halibut. And there's just an abundance of fish. The trees are bigger, the rocks are bigger, there's more eagles than you'll see in your life. Wow. Phenomenal.
Oh my God.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I brought him down to Ocean Reef, where we're now fly fishing for bonefish, tarpon, and permit.
Permit. Oh, wow.
And Tom said, this is one of the most prolific fisheries I've seen in my life. That was on the East Coast. So I fished there for probably the best part of 10 years, but then people part and, you know, you can only hang out at a friend's place so many years and get away with it. But so I bought a place on the other coast, and I made sure that I found a way to fish the West Coast. And the short version of that, just to kind of give you the overview, is I found a guide in the Everglades, and a guy who loves to fish as much as I do. And so we drive an hour and 15 minutes from Bonita Springs to the Everglades. We've got a guide who's a human GPS. He is just
Reminds me of someone.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we just have a blast.
Yeah.
And we don't keep, once in a while we'll keep
Yeah.
a fish.
But for the most part, it's...
But it's mainly catch and release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When my family was growing up in Grand Cayman, the locals there called me the Snook Man. Have you heard of Snook?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Snook,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
The Florida Fishing Guide calls grouper excellent and snook superb.
Oh, really?
So it's a great eating fish. So my family used to request, Dad, can we have fish tonight? I went, yeah, well, I'll go. I'm happy to go for a 3-hour walk along the beach and fish. Okay.
Yeah, if you want.
What I
guess.
do for my family. But then they started naming the kind of fish they want.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
snook was always at the top of the list. At any rate, snook on the West Coast were prolific prior to the big freeze, the last 50,000, 8 years ago, whatever it was.
Wow.
But they're back now, and they're certainly prolific in the Everglades. And I've got pictures of all those if we want to show them to the
oh yeah.
audience.
Yeah, we're going to want to see some of those for sure, yeah.
So, we fish for snook, and tarpon are my favorite. If I could do one thing in the world, and only one, I'd be fly fishing for tarpon.
Really?
It is a life-changing experience. Forget the fly. Use a mullet. Use a pinfish. Use
Yeah.
a crab.
Yeah.
Catch a tarpon.
Over bonefish.
A bonefish, they're good. They're you have to, you're stalking them.
Right.
And all the fishing, by the way, that we do is sight fishing.
It's all sight.
All sight.
Yeah.
We're not
Tarpon included.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you don't cast until you see
Until you
them,
see.
and until you know which end is the head, because if they're laid up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the guide, Kevin, will say there's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Do you see it? I went, yeah, I got it. He said, left side. And so I do a false cast, and he said, no, don't. Bring it back right side. Boom, because he didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to, tarpon, you got to put it right in their eyeballs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like cats, right? You gotta tempt them to it, kind of.
When you're fishing for cats?
No, when you play with a cat, like
Oh, yeah, for sure.
like you gotta.
Yeah.
That's
and
what I heard.
What's the take like from a tarpon on a fly when you get it in front of them?
Well, the interesting thing, it takes a little bit, but it is hard to describe. But first of all, you can't rod set a tarpon. So all these things you're stripping,
Right.
when you feel it go tight, you have to pop it hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Why is
And
that?
their mouths are like steel.
Right. Okay.
So you got to crank it. They have no teeth. It's like a largemouth
Yeah,
bass.
it's like
Right.
Yeah.
They're just little ridges.
But it's just like,
But then the take is, it's like, the visual I have is the North Korean missiles going off. It's like coming out of the,
Yeah.
it's like coming out of the water.
Yeah.
oh man.
And I've often said, if you imagine taking a baby deer and tying it on a low-hanging branch, and then you put a tiger,
Yeah.
and watch the tiger take that thing.
Yeah.
Because a tarpon is
It's kind of like,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
just hits it.
It explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It explodes. And then there's one that I have here was 10 jumps. I have 400 feet of backing and the fly line. It was like gone in a minute and a half with 10 aerials.
Wow.
Jesus.
And then you have to fight and you grind it. But a former partner of mine and a guy that with whom I played hockey and for a decade or so, and a good friend, I said, Ron, I've booked a guide for fly fishing, but it's too windy. I said, do you want to come and we'll catch you a tarpon? He said, Greg, I've only caught a 3-pound bass with my grandfather in Lake Simcoe. And I went, let's go and we'll get you a tarpon. So we went out that day. He and I talked him through just basically, here's what's going to happen and here's what you do. And he did all of that perfectly. And he landed a 110-pound tarpon that day.
Oh my God.
And the next week, he got his 4th hole-in-one at his golf club, which is a few miles from mine. And one of his associates said, Ron, it must be awesome getting your 4th hole-in-one. He said, yeah, it's really good, but it's nothing like catching a tarpon. And he has fished every week.
Amazing.
Since
Every week.
Amazing.
Since. Not for tarpon, but anyhow, that's sort of a...
Yeah. 110 pounds. That's ridiculous. That is a big fish. I think the biggest fish I've ever caught was 10 pounds, and it was like insane. And that's like the biggest fish.
Well, that's a lovely fish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've caught lots of those.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I could
Yeah.
stray wherever you want me to here.
Yeah. No, I think it's tarpon fishing something that totally excites all of us. I mean, we went to the IF4 last year and we watched a film that was in the International Fly Fishing Film Festival, and it was all about catching tarpon and trying to get a number of tarpon. It was
it was in Costa Rica.
But remember, it was
Seychelles.
triple something. It was like a tarpon, a jack, and a
Yeah, it's a permit. No,
Yeah.
it'd be a tarpon, a permit, and
a bonefish.
The bonefish, yeah.
Right.
The Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Grand
that's
Slam.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Well, on our side, it's a redfish, a tarpon, and a snook.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah. And that's in the Everglades.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's there's a bay that we fish in, which is north of Naples at Bonita Springs, and that's shallow water. And I took a friend and his wife from the NHL. I took them out one afternoon with a guide and just bait fished.
Yeah.
And Paula, caught a 41-inch redfish.
Oh my God, that's huge.
That's like
41 inches.
40. I've got it on.
Oh my God.
Anything I'm talking about.
I
here,
gotta. We have to see
it's
that
on this
shot.
phone.
Yeah, we
It
gotta
is
see
on this phone.
because that's a big fish.
Yeah.
That's a
We
big
want to
red
see
fish.
it.
Yeah. Well, we can get there.
Yeah.
And another, to your point though, on weight, I often say with fly fishing, even if you're not catching, you can still be casting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you're dropping bait over and there's nothing taking, fine. But if you're not seeing anything, we're still casting. You'll see a shark come by and you'll try to put it on the shark's head.
Yep.
So you're target casting, and you'll try back casting, and, it's
It's an enjoyable way to.
It's enjoyable. I practice at my place in Florida, which is now in the 12th tee box, and I'm just out practicing. I get people wanting to give me lessons, wanting to have
Yeah, yeah.
lessons. And I say, well, I've given a few friends lessons, but
Yeah.
it's not something I want to be doing every day. But
Yeah.
it is very Zen-like
Oh yeah.
and very it feels very, very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if you're not catching fish.
Yep.
Yep.
So we've had, and as you know, you can go a day and just say, oh, it's so dead.
Yep.
One tarpon changes the day.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
One 10-pound whatever it was, musky
Steelhead.
pike, whatever,
Yeah.
changes the day.
It's not about the numbers.
No,
Yeah.
You know,
it's
like-
not.
And that's a thing that steelhead season's upon us almost, basically. And we do it for the casting because we don't catch anything. And it was a 10-pound steelhead that day, and it was just like, not only did it change the day, it's like one of those, it was like it was definitely the highlight of the year.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I'll never forget because it was my first landed steelhead. But it was like hundreds, thousands of casts with these two guys on the river for months, for a long time when it's raining and
in the
it's cold.
cold.
Oh my God.
Been there.
Grizzle.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
But like you said, one changes the whole.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had, one thing that I mentioned to Yilma at one point is I was going one day with my guide alone because my partner was busy. So he took a smaller boat, and he does a Google Earth of the Everglades.
Yeah.
And we found a place that no one had ever been in. Totally surrounded by vegetation.
Like mangroves and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And so we went there, and he gave me a saw,
Yeah.
and I'm in the front of the boat. He's poling in the back. So we're going
Yeah.
through all this stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm sawing.
Amazing.
And I got spiders dropping on me. I said, Kevin, I'm paying you a lot of money a day,
Yeah.
and I'm blazing a trail for you to come in next Thursday.
Yeah,
with another
with someone
client."
else. Yeah. Yeah.
But we went in, and it was dead. And I said, well, it looks awesome.
Yep.
He said it will be. And I said, are we going to tide change? He said, yeah, 30 minutes. He said, let's just have a sandwich.
Oh.
30 minutes later, boom,
Oh my God! Really?
boom,
Just like
Boom.
lit up.
Yeah.
lit up redfish, because they'll hide in the
Yeah.
mangroves.
Right.
And then
But as soon as
when
the water
comes
levels-
up,
yeah.
they've got a little more room, and they'll
And they
come out
kinda
and
get,
eat.
yeah.
That's the other thing is moving water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Salt water, you need a tide change. You don't need it, it's best.
Yeah.
And I like to fish 2 hours before and 2 hours after a tide change. Doesn't matter if it's high or low. You adjust accordingly. But when you get moving water, they're feeding.
Right.
So, and I think it's a little different than you can get fish. The bite will be on; they'll turn on wherever they are. But it isn't really a tide change per se
Yeah.
in freshwater.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting when he calls it.
Yeah.
No, we're not gonna. No, 30 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
totally badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
30 minutes from now, we're going to be into some
Yeah,
serious
we'll
fish.
just sit
like-
here for a while.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And total confidence in him now too, right?
100%.
Like you could go out with this guy and be like, "Yeah, this is gonna. He knows what's up."
Well, I'll tell you a little story. On the Key Largo side, Ocean Reef, after a few years of, you hook a couple and you lose them, and it's Murphy's Law. When you're fly fishing, you'll find a way to screw up on a tarpon.
Yep.
Because they're so crazy and they're so powerful and you're so excited. When you see them coming on the Ocean Reef side, the guide's all set up because the tarpon are hugging the shore because hammerhead sharks
Oh man.
are here, but they're basically migrating.
Yeah.
But when they follow the shoreline, there's certain places where
Yep.
they can cut in and out.
Yeah.
So the guys get set up at this spot A,
Yeah.
and you can see them coming a mile away. I'll show you the Everglades. It's like glass.
Yeah.
And you'll see they porpoise.
Oh really?
Oh wow.
On quiet morning, they porpoise, so
Yeah.
they suck in air.
Yeah.
And then you'll see a tail, boom, boom.
Oh
And
man.
you'll see the sun glisten off the back of one.
Oh man.
And now they're coming,
Yeah.
and they're within 100 yards,
Yeah.
and the guide starts to pull, and he swings you on a 45-degree angle,
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the others that are with it explode. But you can see them,
Yeah.
and like in the beginning, you're
Yeah.
You're gonna
It's-
pee.
Yeah. You're just pretty much numb, right?
might
You're
as well.
In shock. Yeah. It's amazing.
Now I do, but it's for other reasons.
But you see them coming like a wall of just fury.
You'll see a dark, well, on that side, not on the Everglades, but on that Ocean Reef side, because it's sandy bottom,
Yeah.
and then patches of blue and dark and patches of white, you'll just see a cloud, or you'll see them porpoising in unison. Or sometimes you just see them, we call it lollygag, and they're just in like a daisy chain. They're just in a circle.
You're just going
Oh,
around.
this is stupid.
That's awesome.
Fired in. But on that side, one day, I'm going to go back to the guide piece that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
On predictions and all that. But on the Ocean Reef side,
Yeah.
one day I hooked 5 and landed 4, and they were 85 to 120 pounds, and I had to go into the water on 2 of them.
Oh my God.
And the guide just said, like, they're sharks. I didn't care. I'm just,
Yeah.
One got around a sea fan,
Yeah.
and I just said to my friend, hold this.
Yeah.
He said, don't go in. I'm in.
Yeah.
Lifted it up just as it ran, and
Yeah.
so we were laughing, and it was
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah.
I landed them. And then on the other side, we've caught a couple in a day, and that's a great day. And you're getting snook and redfish as well.
Oh, man.
So we're fishing one tide. We're fishing.
Yeah.
My
Okay,
my
so your
buddy
day's
likes
full, yeah.
my buddy likes redfish and snook. I like tarpon. So
So it's kind of, you're kind of going all day and you got fish
Yep.
all day.
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
all day.
Man.
And this one day, our guide Kevin he hadn't gone out the day before, and it was bad conditions and all of that. And when we got in the boat, I said, Kev, what are we up to today? He said, I don't know. He said, I didn't go out yesterday. All the guys were phoning me last night saying they got nothing, and it was dead. And what am I going to do today? He said,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I said, well, get that feeling out of your system. We're going to slam it today, just in my naturally enthusiastic way.
Yeah.
So we go up this river, big, huge, wide river, which we hadn't been in, and all you could see was bait popping. All you could see. From 7:30 in the morning until 2 o'clock. And my partner and I are alternating casts. Usually you alternate one. Well, we start to say, well, take 2.
Yeah.
All right, take 3. Because every cast, not every, but just about every, I landed 20 tarpon that day.
20.
20 landed.
Wow.
But they were 15 to 40 pounds.
Jesus, though.
So, but,
Is it a
and-
juvenile
That's
tarpon
insane.
at this
Yeah.
size or no?
Yeah. Well, 40 pound would be.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but
40 pounds juvenile. It's insane to me.
But
it's ridiculous.
but I mean, a 15-pound tarpon.
That's,
They
yeah.
dance, they go crazy. And my partner Joe, he caught like 10 and an equal number of snook.
Yeah.
So we just said, and so I said to him, as we're aging, I said, Joe, here's the deal. We have 100 days like this left in our lives. This cannot be topped. He said, I totally agree, because I'm in the countdown. We've got 90 left. We've got 90 left, and I hope to blow through 10 more this year. So it was just as perfect a day as you can imagine. So I've had the big fish on that side, the day where we were just nonstop. 3 casts maximum from 7:30 till 1:30, 2 o'clock. It was just like, what?
That's, yeah.
What? Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we've had other days with less fish that were good for different reasons. The different weather. We were in a different place.
Yep.
We had good shots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good shots at big fish. We screwed up a few.
Yeah.
But that was a day that my pal and I will just never forget. But the guide didn't think we were going to get very much that day, because there was a weather change the day before. I don't know, it was a full moon, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
So
we found bait
Yep.
popping in a weird spot, and all these fish were just munching on them.
Yep.
And we could have kept going.
And nobody else was really out.
There was 2 boats with bait. Bait guys came in,
Yeah.
and they were fishing. One guy was 50 yards from us, and he dropped bait in, and he had like a 20-pound snook in like 4 seconds. They were fishing beside pillar, the pier posts.
Yeah.
And so they pulled out a few snook. We weren't watching that. I don't care.
Yeah.
We were just like,
Oh, you're in your own moment at that point, right?
a happy play. Yeah. And when we got set up, I remember that morning, Joe said, "Greg, you go first." I said, "No, Joe, you drove. So the guy who drives should get first cast." And so he got a snook. He said, "Okay, your turn." No. I said, I'll be there in a minute. I like watching my friends catch fish.
Yeah.
Same.
So I said, no, keep going. So he caught 5, and they were all snooks. So we just happened around the curve in the river. I said, yeah, okay, give it to me. Bang, tarpon.
Oh my God, awesome.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Tarpon.
So what kind of flies are you using? What kind of flies are you using?
I'll show you.
Yeah.
A number 2 hook. Black feathers are my favorite.
Yeah.
But if they're eating, they're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my other good friend with whom I went to the Moisey, the Restigouche, and the Miramichi. He used to own Skinner's, the fly and gun shop on Toronto Street, just north of King. Do you remember that?
No.
It sounds kind of familiar.
It was the best fly fishing store in Toronto, and he used to. I'd say, Houston, I'm going in. He said, well, you mentioned my name. It's retail plus 20. but he had that shop.
Yeah.
And that's gone now. I think there's one further along King.
Yeah, and
No,
Queen.
it's on Queen.
Or Queen, yeah.
Queen
yeah.
now, yeah.
Yeah, so and his brother, who's a judge in New Brunswick, he's a beauty. Big 300-pound, the judge.
The judge, yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And he ties flies.
Yeah.
And a couple of other guys there. So I've bought all these beautiful flies. I don't use them.
Yeah.
I have them.
Just a huge collection.
Yeah.
So tarpon are picky though. They're not looking for. You don't have to match anything. It's just
I mean,
It's presentation.
presentation.
presentation is huge.
Yeah.
And you're going between a fly like that, that's black or white. And I had one that on the other side, I caught most tarpon on, and it was kind of a bluey, greeny, and yellow with a little sparkle.
Yep.
And but still that big.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they want to eat. If they're not eating,
That's it.
What are they doing? Yeah.
they just don't want it. They just don't want it. You can put it on their beaks, and
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. But when it does,
Hang on. So they'll hit pretty much any kind of salt pattern, relatively speaking, like bigger streamers type of thing, and you can usually get them.
well, when I have a guide, I just take what he puts on.
Yeah.
Because he ties them.
Yeah.
And my buddy Joe, he likes to tie them, and I'm going to put a crab pattern on or a shrimp or.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what they are, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I used to know. I used to know the first Atlantic salmon I caught
Yeah.
on when I could cast, not the dry fly.
Yeah.
Was at that same place. It was at Endicott East. Was the exact camp, or the exact spot in the river, big bend in the river.
That's on the Moisey?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And my guide was, his English and my French were equally good, but we communicated well. But what I saw, I watched him. I said, "Could you just show me what you want me to do?"
Yeah.
And he was doing a water haul, where you're just using
Right.
the force of
Yeah.
the water to load the rod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started doing that, and he just went, incroyable. So that, I got it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I whistled at him because I thought I saw a salmon roll. It's rapidy.
Yeah.
I went, fish.
Mm-hmm.
He went, no. And I went, 1 minute. You just pull 10 inches more, 6, 8, 10,
Yeah.
maybe a foot more on the
Yeah.
fly line.
Yeah.
You do the same cast.
Mm-hmm.
45-degree sweep. 22-pound salmon.
Oh my God.
So I remember my first salmon.
Yeah.
And it was on a green machine, which is a
Yep.
little
Oh, yeah.
dry fly,
Yeah.
or a dry wet fly.
Yeah.
And it just kind of bounces.
Yep.
Little green machine.
Oh man,
Boom.
awesome.
So that was in 1992.
Yeah.
And here it is,
Yeah.
2024, isn't it?
Might as well
But I
be.
still remember.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
That's a good way to get a fish right there, though.
It was amazing. Well, it's all good.
Atlantic salmon on the dry.
Oh,
For
man.
first Atlantic salmon, that's pretty good.
And where a guide doesn't think there's a fish.
Well, he just didn't see it. He was smoking and,
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't tuned in.
Awesome.
He didn't believe you would catch anything, or he didn't want you to catch it. He probably saw it.
Oh, no. They know the tipping is proportionate to the take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Exactly.
They want you to catch them. They're happy you catch them.
Of course.
They're guide, right?
Yeah.
They live through you.
They're good
'cause
guys.
They're not
Yeah,
fishing.
absolutely.
They're just
They're taking people fishing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their passion is fishing, so they really
Yeah,
want you to
and-
catch something.
Which is good and bad in my opinion. But anyway, not to worry about that. And then they guide for hunting in the fall. So
Right.
they have a pretty
It's a
good-
whole business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, snook, fishing for snook, though, and redfish. Redfish is another fish that's super interesting to me. You always see pictures of them, magazines, you see them in...
Why are they interesting to you, man?
Because they're such an awesome looking fish, redfish.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So cool looking.
Yeah.
And apart from snook, I sort of, because I haven't fished salt, I kind of group things together. Snook, I think snook and redfish, kind of all the same. Is like catching a redfish. Like how is that different from a snook in terms of take? Because you're kind of comparing snook to smallmouth bass.
Well, I didn't mean to.
Yeah. It was more of the...
Yeah, I mean, a snook has the head and the mouth of a largemouth bass,
Right.
and it has a black horizontal line, lateral line,
Yep.
going down it, and it has yellowy fins and yellowy tail, and it hits hard, and it jumps.
It jumps. Yeah.
And runs and jumps.
Right.
So a redfish, and I only started catching them in the last half dozen years,
Mm-hmm.
but they are bulls.
Yeah.
They're less spooky than it's sort of the bonefish of the West Coast in Florida.
Okay.
Okay.
If-
Yeah, yeah.
There's no bonefish on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And there's no redfish on the East Coast. So, but to me, I'll trade them in a minute.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if I said it here tonight, but I know when we spoke, I said the bonefish is 4 100-yard dashes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's over.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because they fly,
Yeah.
and they're hard to get. I can make a cast to a redfish and slap it on the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you say, "Oh, gee whiz, they're going to spook."
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, sometimes they do, and then when they hit, it's hard, and it's
Oh yeah. Straight down. Yeah.
They look heavy. Like
They do.
When
Oh, yeah.
you see photos, they're holding it. It's like it's thick.
It's
they're
like its
very
skin
strong.
is...
that big mouth.
yeah, they're crushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things.
Crabs and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
But the take nothing like a tarpon, different from a snook, and but they're powerful.
Yeah.
And my friend Joe Bavona down in Florida, his favorite is redfish.
Yeah.
He likes redfish and snook.
Yeah.
We're a match made in heaven.
And they take top water too, eh? Like a gurgler, fly like that, like almost like saltwater poppers. Like they go after those.
I haven't fished
Okay.
them that way because we're fishing very shallow water for reds. So we may be in a foot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go back, right in the back country. And then when that tide starts to move a little bit and you get into a foot or two,
Yeah.
So do you ever get off the boat because it's so flat, or do you stay on the?
I did
Yeah.
and was asked not to.
Why is that? Because
Well, I mean, there's sharks in the area.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
but-
yeah,
and crocs, or gators
Right.
rather.
Yeah.
And
The
and-
caimans go into the saltwater?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Cayman?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Caymans?
Yeah.
Are they, so I mentioned the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
Yes, they go with brackish water, and there's a lot of brackish water in
see.
the Everglades.
Yeah.
Which is the salt and fresh
Salt
kind of mix it
fresh.
together.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's cool.
So there's lots of that. And where we were, you sink. Like it's a muddy bottom. So
Yeah.
I've been in places where I love to walk. I mean, in Cayman, I walk the beach first to make sure. I've had, there's something they say about snook is they will hit with the last roll of the surf. And when I was in Cayman, it's very windy, so I'm often, if I'm looking for dinner for my family,
Yeah.
I'll take a Rapala, or Rapala, I don't know what you call them today.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I just fire them out, and I twitch them in on the top of the water like they're wounded.
Yeah.
Anything wounded is going to get eaten in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just, and big fish go for any injured prey.
They're looking for that, right?
They're looking for it.
It's an easy meal.
Yeah.
Easy meal. So I've literally had a snook, who was delicious, by the way,
Yeah.
put his whole head out of the water onto the sand
Oh my God.
and drag the Rapala back into the water
Yeah.
and run. As soon as he
Oh,
ran,
man.
I just popped him,
Yeah.
and he fought like a bear. But
Man.
they'll come.
That's
You
insane.
don't have to.
That is
You don't
insane,
have to be.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You don't. You can. I've caught so many snook within a foot of the sand
Yeah.
because you get turtle grass,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
and they ambush in the turtle grass, and then you get a little
God.
pool here, and you tit across the turtle grass, and you get to that little hole.
Yeah. Oh man.
So I walked the beach to
Just
make
off the
sure.
surf too.
Sorry,
Just off the surf. Just
the
off
beach.
on the beach. I mean, sorry. Yeah.
right on the beach.
It's crazy.
Right on the beach.
And how big? I
was born
how
on the
big was
beach.
that fish?
Probably 7 or 8 pounds.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
That's
and I've
good.
had I have a couple of spots, but that I have preferred there,
Yeah.
and I've caught a fair amount of fish. So, but there's a spot where I like to start here, and if it's not productive or the wind is too bad, I'll walk out into the turtle grass out to my knees, where I'm before the hole, and after another ridge of turtle grass and coral.
Yeah.
And I fired. It was a windy, crazy day, and I had 2 snook that were over 30, 35 inches.
Wow.
Both torpedo in chasing the one lure, the
Yeah.
Rapala,
Yeah.
but they're looking for a school. They're
Yeah.
they're thinking this is part of a school, and they want to go in and bang them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting.
It's insane.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Crazy.
I love the fact that in saltwater you gotta, it's like hunting for them. Like you gotta stalk them, see what they're doing.
It's
You gotta
totally
be
what
like
it-
patience, you know. Like you can't just like, oh, there's one, and then cast to it. You gotta feel what it's doing.
Right.
But that's
interesting.
that's what I call fly fishing, is hunting with a rod.
Yeah.
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 That's what it's all sight.
And it, like you say, the salt's all sight. You can see them coming up to your lure from a little bit away. Like you can see them about to strike.
Or the guide who's on a higher platform.
yeah.
Yeah.
He has the angle, because sometimes when in the sun you get a glare,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I'll say, Kevin, I don't see him. He said he's right there. I said, where? He said 40 feet, 2 o'clock. So you do a false cast in the air. He'll say a foot left or a foot right.
Right.
Boom, drop it. Strip strip. Boom. So sometimes I don't see them, but he does.
Just
Yeah.
like one strip.
Well, sometimes no, they'll. I mean,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But
after one,
sometimes they'll chase.
Yeah.
Keep going, and they take it right at the boat.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy.
It's a rush.
God, saltwater fishing
I'd
is
rather
just,
that.
It's like I don't even like, it's an alien thing, you know. Catching a snook, I'd be like, what is this fish? We're used to bass and trout here and there, and
Yeah.
pike and muskie. And that, well, not muskie, but
Well, yeah, but
one day.
trout and bass. Yeah.
Trout and bass and pike.
I took a tarpon fly at my cottage, as I'm in a bay,
Yeah.
and I saw bait busting. I used to make my neighbors crazy, because I get in a canoe, and I go and I'd stand up
Yeah.
and fly cast,
Yeah.
just to practice.
Yeah.
And you're doing a little of this,
Yeah.
and I know they all want me to go in. Like, you just know.
Yeah.
They're sipping the wine and they're saying, "I hope that guy falls in."
Yeah.
But I luckily I didn't. But one of those days I saw bait just smashing
Yeah.
in here, so I thought it was a pike, and I ran in, and I had a tarpon fly like that, so I trimmed off some of the feathers to get it closer to the hook, and I got over on a little elevated space, and I took a cast to the shadow. Boom! Crazy muskie.
Oh,
I got
wow.
a muskie and a fly.
No way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It wasn't big, but it's like that.
Oh, that's decent
Oh,
enough.
that's decent. It's like
Still
five, 7
muskie,
pounds.
you know?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
People
Yeah.
go fish for muskie all summer and catch one.
Yeah.
So
it's very true.
that's it.
It's a paint drying fish, right? It's a 1,000 cast fish, like a
1,000
steelhead.
casts of fish.
Yeah.
I took my neighbor's son out. I saw him fishing off the dock. And I said, Mick, do you want to go out? I've got a spot out here. I'm going to go for half an hour.
Yeah.
Just do some casts along the rocks. This third cast, you got a muskie, like
Oh man.
this,
And fat.
and beautiful.
Yeah.
Clean.
Clean. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful fish.
Yeah.
And he said, what is that? I said, it's a muskie. And I said, and Georgian Bay is sort of the capital of
Yeah.
muskie fishing in this part of the world, or at least it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't fish them all that much anymore. I fish off my dock. If a muskie comes, great.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's whatever you can
Because
get off of there.
Salt water.
that's the
It's
place.
your jam.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
I was born in the saltwater. I never caught anything in the saltwater yet. I should know.
Where were you born?
Trinidad.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, I know. I think your son told me. Yeah. Yeah. I just don't know what I don't know what the fishing's like. The fly fishing's like in Trinidad. It's like just seine fishing, just nets.
Mike
Yeah.
told us.
So I
though.
don't know.
He
Well-
says it's good.
Oh, right. Yeah, he did.
There are fish there.
Yeah, of course.
Some of the places are overfished,
Yeah.
but anywhere you have an island, and you've got, I look at any show where I see, whether it's Survivor, any TV show that's on, and you see water,
Yeah.
and I'll say to my family, right there, left side, that patch, there's fish in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there aren't there will be in an hour,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So you just
Yeah.
Yeah, Tobago has a lot of flats. It's kind of, so you can go out maybe half a kilometer out, and there's something called the Nylon Pool, and it's just, a flat island.
Yeah.
And you can fish there. I'm sure there's like bonefish or some sort of fish like
for sure,
that.
for sure.
Yeah, but I've never actually tried.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I'll bring these guys, and I'll bring you around, along, and
better
we
bring me
go.
around
Yeah, exactly.
I want to fish that water.
Next year. Next
Yellow
year.
talks
Let's
about
do
it.
it.
Yeah, we'll stay at my, well, we won't stay at my relatives because they're not in Tobago, but we'll stay. I know a guy who owns a motel, Michael's. We'll stay there. We'll
you
cook
go.
our own food, make our own curry,
Well, snook sounds good.
curried snook.
There you go.
Yeah.
tough to get. You won't want a curry snook. It's
No, eh?
just so pure.
It's so good on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
Yeah. So we talked about redfish. We talked about snook. We talked about tarpon. Are there any other? Because you mentioned jack was some of the first fish rather you caught on the fly in the salt. Fish and jacks. How big do they get? What's the experience like with jacks?
Well, jacks are the easiest of those because they're prolific and they're always moving. And I was, for example, I was fly fishing for bonefish in Cayman, and I saw a fish moving, and I didn't know what it was. So it was 40 yards beyond where I could cast, but it was in 2 feet of water, crystal clear water. I took a cast at it. It saw the fly, did a hard right turn and chased in and just slammed it and ran.
Yeah.
So they're less fussy.
They're acrobatic, right? They're very.
They're
like
I
tuna
wouldn't
almost.
say acrobatic as much as I would say more dogged pulling.
Right.
And they are very strong fish for the size of the fish.
Yeah.
And there are jacks that, like some of the ocean jacks, get ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
And they travel in schools. So I don't fly fish for jacks because I'd rather focus on the big 3
Yeah.
in the area that I fish.
Right.
But you will often, you don't know. I mean, fish, they mix up with each other.
Yeah.
And you'll get a jack following redfish because it's kicking up mud,
Yeah.
Right.
and the jack is going to go for an easy meal or whatever. So, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But of the 4 species that we spoke of tonight, the jack is the least spectacular of those.
Yeah.
But a great fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, just say, okay, you had a bad day, you caught 6 jacks, it's still good.
Yeah.
They fight like
It's
crazy.
pretty good bite catch.
Sorry, Gab, what'd you say?
I said it's a pretty good bycatch.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
you target
yeah.
something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
you get a jack. You're like,
Yeah.
well, that's a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
It's like when you go steelhead and you catch bass, like you'll take it. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Or walleye.
I love walleye.
Yeah,
I
I
love
know you
walleye.
do. I
Yeah.
don't know, but I don't know why, but
I love walleye.
On a fly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the first fish I ever caught on a fly. It was a.
Well, that's why you like it.
I love them. 22-inch walleye on a leech
Nice.
pattern. Oh my god! I almost tipped the canoe. I
It's like
lost
a
the
log.
fly box, my first fly box
Yeah.
ever in the water. Because what happened was I was fumbling with my anchor that was stuck on a log.
Yeah.
And I was going like this. I'm like, oh my god! Like it was like the fall and the cold, you know. My fly, I go and I look at my rod and it's just like this. I'm like, holy shit! I start going and I bring it up, massive fish. But in the meantime, I'm flipping, I'm flopping, almost tipped the boat.
They call you
Amazing! It was the
flip-flop.
best. It was the best thing. And from then on, I was like, yeah, I got to fly fish for everything. But yeah, we catch them on the swing sometimes. You know, we're steelheading, and it's like it's a welcome surprise, right?
I'm a noble man. My first fish on the fly was a brook trout.
There you go. All pro.
Yeah.
Well, brook trout
I still remember.
are I love them all, but I would say brook trout, they're cute. I mean, you know, you start in the freshwaters of Canada or America, wherever you live, and you're fishing, and it's fundamentally the same thing. But then, if you move to the fly casting, you will just treble the pleasure
Yeah.
over time. You have to put a little bit work in to do it, but the minute once you get it and you start feeling it,
Yeah.
and then you start having to catch fish that
Yeah.
way,
Man.
it really is quite awesome.
Oh yeah.
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 I had speaking of unusual catches, I was in the Queen Charlotte Islands, and I took my son Cam there, and he was all pro. I mean, he's not anywhere near as avid a fisherman as I am, but we were there, and you're on, you know, we've got a
Yep.
guide and a boat and rough weather, and
Yeah.
we're banging salmon in there, which was really good. But I used to go with my father-in-law, and he was a great guy. He was 6'5", 300 pounds, Big John. He was a British Navy diver back in the day, but a gentleman and a fun, good guy.
Yeah.
And he loved to fish. But when we were in Langara, he'd like to drive the boat, thinking he was Lord Nelson.
Yeah.
And that's prior to our using guides.
Yeah.
And so we're catching all sorts of fish. But I saw a bait ball, and I bring fly rods to Langara, which is the Queen Charlotte Islands, right up at the top. So you're in the ocean. And my goal has always been to catch a Chinook in the ocean on a fly. So I usually go there to Langara in late August, around Labor Day, because you get coho and Chinook.
Yeah.
And lovely halibut. Anyhow, we see the bait ball. And we took a pass through with the cut plug herring, bang, we got a Chinook. I spun the boat. I said, John, we got to get back in that bait ball and getting the fly rod. So I take the fly rod, and I've got sinking line. So I shoot the whole line. So you get 90 feet, and as soon as it drops down, you know that you're at 45 feet. So I'm stripping back up
Yeah.
through the bait ball. Bang! I'm on. All of a sudden, a bird comes flying out of the water. The birds were bombing the bait
Yeah.
and diving down deep,
Yeah.
and I hooked one.
Oh my God.
It went up into the sky. Now it's like a kite. So I
No
had this
way.
thing. Yeah, I totally did.
Oh my God.
And it's there flapping and flapping and
Oh my
flapping. And so I get it down and just wrapped a towel around it. And we got the hook out of it.
And it was good.
Oh, it was good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyhow,
Yeah,
that
it
was
happens.
it's not exactly the jack or the
Yeah.
the bass.
That's an interesting
My,
catch, though.
My dad hooked onto a bat once.
Bats.
Oh yeah, the bat story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens, man. It happens at night when people night fish.
Well, yeah.
So
And
I've
even
heard
it's not necessarily night. It's just like just before that
Right.
last light,
Yep.
and they're eating bugs that coming out of the water. So
I couldn't imagine fly fishing at night, man. I'd be so freaked out. I don't know where my fly is.
it's awesome.
Oh,
You're growling behind you.
Well, a lot of people in Florida, or even Cayman, will fish. You go out onto a pier, or you'll go into some back channels where people have lights by their boats,
Right.
and you'll hear tarpon popping. You'll pop, and snook.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So is there a specific time, like better? Because I know you talked about the tides, but is there specific times that it's better to fish for certain species of saltwater fish, like tarpon versus?
Well, you talked about at night. So if you're at night and there's anywhere near a tide change, and you go into the back channels where there's lights and bait, you're going to catch a fish.
Right.
But generally, no. I mean, we connect with our guide Kevin. He wants us there at like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we drive over from the Naples area, and we're in an open boat, and we're probably going 50 miles an hour, and we go for 40, 50 minutes in that flats boat, and it is freezing.
Yeah.
Even in the Everglades, like you're freezing your rear end off. So I'm going November, because I'm going to the UK next week, or a couple of weeks. I can't do my October trip, but November 16 I'll be back in Florida. That'll be the first trip, so that'll be a bit chilly. So we leave in the morning, and we come off the water, at 2 o'clock. So within that, you'll have a tide change or two. And it doesn't matter because we got Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
So he knows where fish.
So you're saying it's better to go. So if you give us his contacts, we're good. We're good to go. Because you think it's better. So no renting of the boat, no renting of the flats, whatever. We're going out with a guide for sure.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go for the first time, go with a guide.
Yeah.
And have a GPS in your pocket. Just keep it on.
Yeah.
And track it.
Yeah.
And so we went with a couple of other guys who didn't want to get a guide to go to another place north of us. I said, Joe, have you fished here?
Yeah.
He went, no. And there's it all looks good.
Yeah.
But you can it all looks good, but the fish may be in 5 places, and then they're rotating at different times.
Yeah.
In Cayman, if I catch a fish at let's say 4 in the afternoon, as an example, because you'll see jacks running, you'll see schools of jack. The water lights up. The fry, you don't hear that word a lot here, do you? The fry, the bait fish start crackling and popping, and then you see other fish bombing in after them.
Yeah.
And if that's 4 o'clock, tomorrow it's at 4:30.
Okay.
Or 4:45. So it's just a change in the tide. So you can go the same place half an hour or 40 minutes later.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's on. But every place is different. Fundamentally, though, for me, if you're fishing salt water, moving water is good. Even if it's, and we're in the shallow water, but at least it's water coming in and out. It may be changing by a foot.
Yeah.
But that's probably too technical. Get a guide.
Yeah.
Go have fun. You'll make a few miscasts.
Yeah.
And,
Well, some more than others.
Yeah. Sure. But it's a blast.
Yeah.
Especially in the saltwater, like you can't just like rent a boat and like you can't just like go to Florida and like, I'm just gonna rent a boat and go to Everglades. Like,
Yeah,
you
there's
need
no
someone.
way.
No, you
Like,
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
how where do you like you said every single piece
Such-
of mangrove look good.
So much
Where are
water.
It
so
all
much
looks
water.
good.
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
So much water.
But our guide is 42. He grew up in South Florida,
Yeah.
and he went on a golf scholarship. He actually beat Tiger Woods at university
Whoa.
once,
Yeah.
as he says, once.
Once.
But anyhow, so these guides are generally in way better shape than one would think, but they're poling,
Yeah.
an 18-foot boat, a motor, 2 guys,
Yeah.
and Kevin works, man. We take really good care of him because he works,
Yeah.
and it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot cheaper than having your own boat.
Yeah.
And I've had boats up here, still do, but at this age and stage,
Yeah.
hi.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So any plans for anywhere else, like Seychelles, maybe? Because I mean, that's my dream.
Well, my buddies have been to the Seychelles.
Yeah.
and fabulous bone fishing. I've not been there. I was going to go, but it's a crazy place to get to.
I know. Yeah.
But from what I heard, fabulous fishing. And there were some other parts of it. I mean, who knows? I just say, do it. You want to do it? Do it.
Yeah. But for you, you're good. You're good in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I once went to fly fishing in Ireland because my father-in-law, Big John, was British. He lived in Ireland for a period of time and said, "Oh, it's just amazing." So we go to Ireland and we'd rented a home, and my wife, son, and daughter all were there a little bit ahead of me because I was working and running around and all that stuff. So I connected with them a little bit later. I think they were in France, and then they went over and rented a place in Ireland. So we get into the town of Ireland, and I'm dead tired, but we had to shop. And we went into the store to buy groceries for the house that we were in. I was there to, the shop, the guy behind the meat counter, he says, so where would you be from? I said, well, we're from Canada. He says, oh, Canada, you say. Now, what would you be doing here? I said, well, I'm here to fly fish. You fly fishing, you say. Now, what would you be fishing for? I said, salmon. He went, haven't seen a salmon in 50 years.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But that happened to be the driest summer in the history of Ireland.
Oh.
And there were salmon pooled up.
Right.
You see a big black cloud, but they couldn't get into the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's crazy.
You need high water.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they had to have enough to
To get over, yeah.
get in the rivers.
Yeah.
So I got a gilly and
Yeah.
fished for trout,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was nice. So it's all good.
Fishing
It's all
trout
good.
in Ireland. That's too bad.
But my point was, at the end of it, I said to Big John, I just said, we live in Canada,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where we have salmon all over the place, and you want to take me to Ireland in a drought and wind, and there weren't any fish, but we still had fun.
Yeah.
So in terms of, if I get a craving to go somewhere, I will.
Yeah.
But my expression that I used to use in business when I'd started, I sold Company A and was doing Company B, was being interviewed by someone at the Globe. And I said, well, why are you doing this? Which was in the women's magazine category. And I said, well, I like to fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
Because in terms of spending, that's what it was back in those days. But the same for fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can go to the Everglades, and I am, in a month, and I'll be in a new place, and it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll be with a great guide and my buddy,
Yeah.
and we'll have a few giggles. We might catch a fish. We'll make some great casts. We'll lie, and it'll all be good.
Yeah.
And that's fly fishing.
That's it, man.
And fly fishing the salts.
It is.
Yeah.
As someone who grew up on perch and bass and pike and pickerel,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And then, go into salmon in Georgian Bay, and then Atlantic salmon, and then snook in the Caribbean, and the other species in the Caribbean, all shallow water. Sometimes spinning if it's too windy to fly a cast. If you don't have a back cast because you got foliage here, it's a little flick.
Yeah.
So you just adapt. But when you have the chance to get into a nice shallow saltwater area with a guide who knows the water, and you've practiced your casting, and you get a chance to lay a fly on the water. I used to love just hearing the sound.
Yeah.
Just hearing. I can tell by the sound.
Yeah.
So you hit a golf ball, you can tell if it's good
Oh, yeah.
just from contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Same with a slap shot, the high hard one. You know it's good. And with the fly, oh my God, I say to anyone who will listen, please go catch a tarpon, with or without a fly, because it will change your life. You see a tarpon take bait or take a fly and come out of the water, it's full diaper change time. It is a beauty. That's becoming a little too real in my world, actually. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's very, very exciting. And I would encourage young men such as yourselves who have a passion for fishing that is a must do.
Yeah.
Social?
Let's do this.
Yeah, visit our social page. We got Facebook, SoFly. I always mix those up.
The SoFly crew. Oh yeah, no, Facebook. Yeah.
See,
Facebook is SoFly.
Okay, we need to
fix that.
Yeah, we need to get a one name for all of our handles. But I know people, whatever. But Gab, again, what is Facebook?
Facebook, SoFly. Check us out. Instagram, the SoFly crew, because SoFly was taken. Assholes.
That's amazing.
And then, and that's it. And hey, we got shirts now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So go on our Instagram page, go on our Facebook page.
Gab's wearing one right now. It looks
Yeah,
great.
I love it.
Can you guys see it? Looks great.
Looks
Check
great.
this out.
That was
Looks
a joke.
good.
I got pecs now too because I'm been working.
get it.
Okay, all right. Wrap it up.
Send us an email.
Hey,
The
let me
SoFly
brag.
crew at gmail.com. Chris at Drift Outfitter sent us an email, and he said that we messed up a story last time. We said that somebody looked up information on. He asked for. Remember the brook trout guy we were talking about last show? We were talking about how he had sent the government information, or what is it? Freedom of information.
Yep.
To get this fishing spot up in the middle of nowhere where this guy was doing a fishing show. So this guy saw him he was catching all these massive brook trout. And so this guy watching the show sent an email to the government, said, I need to know the name of this lake. I'm entitled to know it. I said that the guy got the name and went fishing and slayed, but I was wrong. I just read the headline and came to my own conclusions. It was actually the guy who was fishing that caught the fish. Chris corrected us. So
Yeah, and we didn't get his name right too, and that's my fault. And it was Mike Borger.
Mike Borger, there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
So
That's
thanks,
why we
Chris.
love you.
Yeah, Chris is the man.
Yep. And I think that's another good. That's episode 15 in the bag.
Well, thanks, Greg.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
sure.
This was amazing.
Thanks for
Thanks
coming
for
on.
having me. Good to meet you guys.
Absolutely,
Tight
yeah.
lines.
Yeah.
And enjoy every moment on the water. It is special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we cherish all of it.
And salt soon. That's it for me, Mitch. I'm out. Gab,
Hey, I'm out too.
Yelma.
Going on.
Bye, everyone.